fog lights coming off.
And that tail is the caudal fin is just
nice.
beautiful. I don't think I've seen a fish with that type of swallowtail morphology.
Drifting away.
Yep.
I wonder if that would also distract a predator, so maybe they'd go after
Yes,
the
too.
tail end
Right. Kill
instead
those
of
lights.
Lights coming
gulping
off.
him from the head.
No.
That might be more fatal. Or it could be an attractive feature for ladies. But I think they're all the same, so.
Can we take a peek under that ledge on the left of the screen now? Just sometimes we can see fish there that we haven't seen yet. I guess it's just the normal fish we've been seeing.
So Iris Sampaio said that
Coming
in the northeastern Atlantic, there's actually a temperate environment anthias called Anthias anthias.
They seem to cohabitate very nicely with the black belly rosefish.
Yeah, they sure do.
That closed anemone underneath the ledge looks like it has jaws. So we haven't seen any sponges, have we?
You know, I don't think we have. I wonder if there's too much sediment here.
Yeah, they don't have a easy way to clean themselves of sediment. They can't close up and hide from it like the anemones can. Another little octocoral. More cans.
Oh boy.
We'll have to have someone go through this video and identify the different brands. It would be an interesting assessment, though, just how many cans we see and other types of debris, just to take stock of it.
All right, pilots, ready for another move?
Ready
We
to
haven't
do it.
been diving
Copy
at this
that. I'll
depth,
still keep 2, 4,
so we
5.
can't really
Looks like
compare
they're
it
starting
to other
die out.
areas.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Except-
But we can do it on the move. and
excuse
then
me,
go from
except
there.
for the deeper
Okay.
areas where we've seen marine debris on every dive, but most often just 1 or 2 pieces of it during the course of the dive. Today is quite different and likely a function of our close proximity to land and the Gulf Stream where a lot of fishing occurs. We've seen evidence for fishing with the line and some of the debris that it has made, the fishing gear.
Tina was probably half joking, but maybe somewhat serious earlier in the chat room. She said that this is all going to be inexpensive beer because the fishermen spend all their money on their boats.
Would you like me to follow you
Go ahead,
around
Nav.
there, pilot? Looks like we're starting to go around the other side of the mountain.
Crayfish.
Mm-hmm.
Another one on the right as well.
On the top of this area, you mean? When we came up? I'm not sure where you mean.
Go ahead and video.
I am now. Okay. I see. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay. No, that's a good proposal.
So Leymanima.
Maybe heading almost due north from here to get the base of that steeper.
Or should we go west first and then?
Well, due north would pick up that ridge, and we'd either or. Whatever works easiest
North
for
deeper.
currents and maneuverability.
So straight north would be deeper, but I think if you just go maybe like northwest, it should flatten out eventually.
Okay.
So if you just want to, you can peek around and see, and then we can make a direction decision. But yeah, currently ship's moving 245, a small bump. So we can do one move that way and then go from there.
Are you looking at like a 315 as far as north?
Is that a rock? It's very
West,
square.
See what the slope
We've
is. But
looked
yeah,
at those.
roughly.
There are a few of them.
Okay.
It's hard to say what they are. There are several very squared. My first thought is no, it's not a rock because so many of the others are so angular, but very hard to tell. Even we looked on the side of it.
I'd be there at 90
the white
degrees.
Thing on the right, trash again, probably. What's this fish? Is it, oh, it's a rock, isn't it?
Yeah, ship should be just about
It
finished.
does look like fins on the top and bottom.
It's a little bit shiny, too.
You can do a snap on it. Go ahead.
I think it's a bottle.
Oh,
yeah.
it's a bottle, yeah.
Masquerading as a fish. It's the camouflage.
Some kind of other debris right in front of
Yeah.
it, too. Probably plastic.
You look at that hard substrate there.
You have to be more specific, Roland.
Bottom right, the things that looks all the holes in the rock.
Yeah, so these are
I'd
some
be
of
there
those
at my
more
maximum
angular
angle back,
pieces
or
of
down.
rock.
Copy.
101.
No, we haven't seen anything with quite those squared off edges before.
No.
I was talking about the stuff on the left with all the holes. Just above the anemones.
I got to back up, Roland.
Copy.
Yeah, probably that's pretty much where we came from too. So that's shouldn't be a new track.
Pilot, can you take a quick zoom right in center, just to the right of that,
Go ahead.
the squat lobster, and up just a little where there's a little bit of rock underneath exposed. I was wondering if that was, no, it isn't. I was thinking that might be part of the underlying rock, but it's not. You can see in the sediment surrounding these rocks that is probably a mud, compacted mud. There are a lot of the burrows made by the burrowing mollusk. Do you know the name of the burrowing mollusk, Cheryl?
No, I don't.
So now, should you swing to your starboard rather than port to come around?
Why?
I just thought you had moved kind of counterclockwise around this mound. If you continue to turn to port, won't that put a turn in the cable? Whereas if you come to starboard, it will unravel it?
Well, so there's two sets of turns here, right?
Yeah.
There's D2 relative to Sirius, which is 0 right now.
Okay.
So we have no turns. And then there's Sirios relative to the ship,
which is negative
which is
-5.
-5. So I can turn either direction, and then that will affect whether you want to turn left or turn
I
right.
keeps getting caught
Gotcha.
on
Copy that.
So, because right
new
now you're at
things
negative.
and only to find that it's
0.5.
debris.
So I'm exactly 180 from where I started.
Yes.
So depending on which way you go determines which way I need to do that half back.
Yeah, because if I go left and you go right, that'll put a turn in the tether.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or vice versa. Which direction are we going to go after this?
So if you could peek west, and then we can look at sonar, and then pretty much that direction. Hopefully there's something there to look at. Hopefully we can find some sort of slope, but yeah, we want to avoid going
Round thing,
north,
forward
might be
and
straight
right.
down, which we want to avoid. But if we cheat west, it should flatten out. Hopefully we can find something.
So west looks like
West looks like sand.
sand. If you go northwest, that continues on this substrate.
So
So this is
might
northwest.
be our winner.
And below us, you see the transition from sort of the flat
Yeah, how
sediment
about-
covered plain to the edge
And
of
then
this
this is north.
one of
So
the
maybe not straight north,
steeper
northwest.
areas.
North looks like it drops down.
So
Yeah,
the rock
which is what we
exposure is a
expect.
little more evident.
So we could go northwest and follow the edge
All
of
the
this.
fractured slabs of this
Is that
crustal
340?
kind of rock.
340.
Crusted, I like to call it encrusted
I think you saw.
sediments as opposed to
Then, yeah,
crustal rock,
340.
because if anyone's
Put
ever taken
Sirios
geology,
over there
you think
somewhere.
of
All right,
the
sounds good.
crust as
You want me to
being
swing around to
something different.
340?
It's a much larger
Sure.
scale
Okay,
feature.
swinging around.
So I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to this
Type
sediment
of pole
that has
log right
been
between
bound
your skids
together
on
by
HG2.
precipitates, making this encrusted rock.
This looks like a log.
I fear that black thing up ahead
Go
might
ahead,
be
Nav.
net.
Okay, I'm on 340.
Go ahead and roll.
That sounds fine. Thanks, Nav.
Hose.
Is that another piece of debris there?
I don't know.
I think it's a type of hose.
Right, coming up.
So just for my reference now, if we were to come off the bottom, you would go to port and I would go to starboard.
So we have
To
a
line up
log
with the
and a
ship.
bottle, it looks like.
Yeah, if you went to starboard, then that would take my turn out.
Okay. And then you would just
A
go
piece of
to
fabric.
port and then line
Push
up.
out.
Gotcha.
Can we
Okay.
look at the lower end of this pole?
So how would a log get way out here? It just floats down a river and gets caught in coastal currents?
Yeah, or, you know, it could be the mast of a boat. Who knows? But yeah, they do get waterlogged.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yet another bottle. Lots of sargassum. Almost looks like bamboo.
You can come down a little bit. You're at 25
Copy
meters.
that, yeah.
If you had coral attached to this, would it be considered bamboo coral?
I think that actually might be bamboo. You can see the rings.
I don't know if that was for the public to hear,
Yeah, I
but
was
I'm
just
going to
thinking
repeat
that.
it just in case they didn't. Roland, our video lead, suggested that if this is bamboo and there's a coral living on it, is that
Looks
a
like
bamboo
it's deep
coral?
water log too.
Cheryl hadn't heard it, so
No, sorry.
I thought I had to repeat that.
Quite literally. I guess it would
Yep.
be a bamboo coral. Scott France is probably cringing right now.
Or if he wasn't listening, he's thinking we found bamboo coral and he is rushing to his teleprompter to his phone to call in.
Single stock.
Let's push
no,
it.
I guess those are
non-branching.
Let's push
barnacles.
it partial as
I
you
don't
go
know.
along.
Yes, yeah. So
Maybe we
that
should
must
get
come
lasers
from
on
some
this.
tiki bar that was afloat.
Yeah, you can put lasers on.
Coming off.
Guess it's been here a little while. All the barnacle growth. So that should be hollow in the middle too, right? Could be all sorts
or
of
with,
things
yeah.
living in there.
The other end had
Coming out.
some of the
I think at the nodes
interior
it's
still intact.
Solid,
Except-
isn't
It
it?
looks like
solid.
a rope up there.
Pile, yeah.
So it creates like cells.
Wow.
all right. It's coming out.
Another silvery marine debris piece.
All this
So Cheryl,
line.
it's been an interesting dive today. We started out with great suspense,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that we were heading toward
It's the
a
orange
target
lower right.
that had been identified from the sonar as a very prominent
Take the lasers
feature
off.
Right.
that had a lot of reflection to the sound, meaning that it was hard in some way, and it had a huge scour mark behind
okay.
it,
That's
and all
definitely
those
it.
pointed to the
Straight ahead.
possibility of being a shipwreck. And we approached it and started to see in our sonar view from
Possible
the
coconut
ROV,
next to the net.
started to see a large object in front of us, but sadly it
Do you think
turned
it's
out to be
Castaway's wrap?
not a shipwreck, but a wall face or a scarp
Got it.
of a lot of slabs of rock.
And those slabs of rock have turned out to be, oh, there's a coconut.
A coconut.
Actually, Amanda Demopoulos said that what we were looking at might have been a coconut palm instead of a piece of bamboo.
Oh, that's funny.
So
Well,
maybe there's some reality to that.
or someone was having a tropical themed
All right, Pat's ready for another move.
party on their boat.
Right?
All right, I'll bump you.
But yeah, so we
20
wound up
meters,
finding
330.
a rocky habitat,
lasers.
the first one that we've
Let's get
visited
lasers.
this whole
Come on.
cruise. It's a more shallow habitat and very different than anything we've seen before on this expedition.
Okay, come on
And
up.
it's a great fish habitat. We have seen lots and lots of fish and
laser.
anemones, and we've actually
Sure.
seen a stony coral and
Another
an
one.
octocoral species. So, and there's another coconut. So yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you look for one thing, but that's part of exploration. Whatever you were going to find that was this big feature that was very obvious compared to everything around it, it must be something
up.
exciting. And so this is a different habitat, but it's definitely an important one for fishes, it looks like.
And a lot of crabs, too. We've
And a
seen
lot of
at
crabs.
least 3 different crab species, or even groups of crabs, probably more species than that.
Yeah, so this information will be important for the habitat suitability models, and this is an important set of data to add
We'll
to
get
what we
those
know
3
about
orange
where
fish.
corals and fishes
Lower
and
left.
sensitive habitats are.
And it's also very
see
important for the
9
archaeologists
orange
to
fish.
know
How
that
about the one with his head
features
straight
that may
above?
look like a shipwreck may
Maybe
not
the
be
eel.
shipwrecks. So that kind of adds another puzzle to their, or
Okay, what is this?
piece,
Purple
an
thing I was
extra
looking
piece
at
to their
before.
puzzle. They have compared themselves to CSI detectives, and they're trying to piece together information. It's not a crime scene, but it is a shipwreck.
And I guess that's how most exploration goes, is that you see something and it's exciting, and the first gut reaction would be to just start collecting, but it's a really good idea to
Cloth.
take it slow, make sure you know all that you can about the habitat. Is it safe for the ROV?
Okay, coming
Is
up.
this an extensive habitat or just one little patch of life? Yeah, so both of those aspects require a kind of carefully thought out plan to survey and then get a better idea of what you're looking at.
And that's one of the beautiful things about telepresence is that even though today when we started the dive, we started with a team of archaeologists, and this afternoon as we sit on the chat line and on the telecon with over 30 scientists joining us, you have a world of expertise at your fingertips because of this technology.
Yeah, and just...
Hi, Casey. Hi, Cheryl. Scott Frank.
Oh, hey, Scott.
Hi. I just wanted to say another thing that's interesting here is, you've just described that we came across this unexpected hard substrate, and we're seeing lots of anemones and several different species, and that's interesting, but not too many corals. And so we can also learn something from that perspective. Why wouldn't we see corals here? So the more of these sorts of observations we make, when we put them all together, we start to better understand the overall story.
That's an unusual anemone or something there. And yeah, Scott, that's so true. And one more great thing about this telepresence is that we started out this dive with archaeologists on the line and in the chat room. I sent out an email once we were pretty sure it was not a wreck, and now we have about 30 biologists joining us, so we could shift gears. And geologists, that's true. So we're back to a geology type dive, but we could do that in, very quick time turnaround.
And
I'm wondering if that, if we're going to look at the one in the top middle there, it's really wide and it's really short.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's a corallimorpharian,
Ooh.
which is one of the hexacorals that we don't see too often. It's relatively rare in the deep compared to all the other ones we're seeing, but it is another member. It's an order, if you're thinking about the classification. You've done your high school biology. It's an order of the hexacoralia, separate from the order that includes the sea anemones and separate from the order that includes the stony corals, the black corals, and so on. And I'm saying that mainly because it's really, really wide and it's not very tall, and those tentacles are sort of lining the fringe, if you will. So just a guess.
Would that be something we would want to collect? I know that they're important for phylogenies of the cnidarian group. This is the first one I've ever seen.
That's a really interesting suggestion. I don't know, maybe with the scoop you might be able to get that. One thing I can say is that we very rarely collect the corallimorpharians that we see because they're often very small and growing on rock that we can't access. So if that's something that the scoop can be slid under, that would be a very novel collection for this program.
I think... Okay.
We could try with the claw.
Did you hear that, Scott, that the scoop is not on because this was supposed to be a shipwreck dive and they didn't think they would need it? Do you think that trying with the manipulator would be a possibility, or would it ruin the sample?
Well, I think it'd be pretty messed up. It's basically got the same texture as a sea anemone.
Right.
It's going to be very soft. I don't know how it will close up when it's touched, so that might be really difficult.
I
guess we should just get some nice video of it then and leave it be.
On the top right, I see it moving a little bit. Could just be plastic.
It's up to you, Watch Lead. I can make an attempt at it.
Let's get it tight while you're sitting.
Go ahead and
kick on the extra lights, please.
Coming on with fog lights. No.
And, I may be wrong. It may be an anemone, just one that I'm not familiar seeing.
I wonder if we should give it a try, but then be ready to bail quickly if it looks like it's going to
Good tilt to the mouth.
be a massacre?
If you want to give it a try, what I would suggest is trying to, get the claw underneath it.
Yeah, kind of
seeing
dig a
how
little.
well you sort of half scoop, half grab. That's my thought.
What do you think, pilots? Is that worth a shot?
I think it's worth a shot. We can give it a try. Try
Okay.
not to damage it too much.
Okay, and if it doesn't look like we can get it, we'll just bail on the collection. But I do think that this
Lights are
is
clear.
something that a lot of people would be interested
Hydraulics
in.
up?
Hydraulics are up.
Yeah, we're definitely going to go port side on this.
Copy that. Burn port side.
My expectation is that when the claw touches it, it's going to kind of close up, retract a
Clear
bit.
the lights for sample.
Okay, coming off.
I don't know if it'll be like a Venus flytrap or more like a little bit of
Gonna
a
bring
ball.
up.
Yeah.
Be
Can you
interesting to
zoom
see.
in a little on main Zeus? Right.
See it just rocking with your motion.
It's amazing it hasn't
Yeah, you wanna
closed up.
Yeah,
You
it's
wanna
not
open the drawer
closing
here?
very much.
Copy that.
Alright, come wide, really.
Extending drawer.
It's not easily intimidated.
I guess.
Alright, hold that.
Stopping there.
Yeah, come back out with the drawer.
Come out as far as come in. Or
Yeah, come back in.
Okay.
Alright, so I'm going to try to give it a gentle cradle here. And when I do that, I'm going to lift it up. I'm not going to be able to index. So I'm just going to try to lift it and put it in the box in one motion.
as soon as you get underneath it, I'll push the drawer out.
Yep, once the arm is clear.
Copy that.
Do you want me to track with the camera?
Can you take my Zeus
Me?
pilot? Yep.
Yes. Got it.
Alright.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, go with the drawer.
Coming out.
Tilt up on my camera.
Tilting up.
If it had been
Drawers
any
fully out.
smaller.
It would have slipped right through.
Yeah.
Got you on mini Zeus.
There you go.
Samples in
Close
the box.
box.
Nice
Bravo.
closure.
That's awesome.
That
Thanks
ain't no
so
thing.
much.
So,
Okay.
Lars, that's how we do soft,
That is just truly incredible and
delicate stuff.
not easy, and I'm really impressed, and thank you for that.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
gentle
What's
you
that?
had to
What
be
grip force do you
with
have?
those
5.
big metal
Oh, you do
claws.
5, nice.
That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so 5 is a good one because you
I'd
have a
call it
lot
a
of
coralomorph.
you've got a lot of range on the trigger, and it will stop pretty easy. You don't have to squeeze it a lot. Like if you go down to the lower ones, you have to squeeze it really far. It's hard to bridge is calling you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did
Did you safely lift off if we can see that purple line?
let's
Upper
just
right.
do a quick zoom here and make sure. All right, coming out. Yeah, I definitely got that.
Yeah, I saw it go in.
Yeah.
Yeah, pilot ship's going to do 5 degrees, heading straight to
Shoot me.
right.
Lasers
These
are
pilots
off.
make
HVU
it look
is ramped
easy.
down.
Okay, come on in here. Is that a balloon?
Debris.
I wonder if that's one of our rubber gloves.
Looks
Not
like,
ours,
I hope not.
but somebody's.
Looks like a balloon.
I was
with a
thinking a
string.
balloon, yeah.
come on out.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, and
yeah.
there's the string. Yes. Think of all those thousands of balloons that are released. Where do those plastic covers end up?
Unfortunately, a lot end up in the bellies of creatures.
Yes, a
That's
lot
why
of
we
sea
don't want to
turtles.
dispose of those in the ocean.
Yep, sea turtles.
So we
Think they're jellyfish,
But I saw something
which is their favorite food.
after this. If you want to turn, this is southwest.
you want to look. Yeah, go ahead and. I don't think that's a shark. You snap in. Yeah. Hey, coming out. So what were you saying?
I think I saw southwest. I might have saw nothing big, but a couple tiny sonar targets.
Did you see how he just
Might just be
floated
more
down to
substrate.
land on the sand? He didn't swim to it.
Might be worth a look.
You can see a little bit of rippling of the surface. That's an indicator of flow strength. You can see it nicely. So they're little crested ripples, and the troughs in between have the darker material probably, and that material has been
Thicker
pushed up over one side of a ripple mound and falls into the trough in the next mound, and sometimes gets stuck there because it's a little too heavy or too large a material to
Ship's gonna
be
go a
pushed
little
up
more
over the
back
next
here.
ridge, but eventually it does with the current.
Do you want me to follow you around to the west?
Sure.
So
Yeah, we're
not at all
moving right
surprising to see ripples
Yeah.
in this
Just trying
area
to
with
see
So
what
this
the
is
next
west.
these
best
currents from the Gulf Stream.
direction is.
And this is southwest. We can keep going southwest.
Do you want to try bump southwest?
Sure.
I'm trying to see.
Yeah, seems good. Southwest.
Yeah. All right. Great. So, yeah, when ship's done, I'll put a move towards there.
Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, 5 gives you. It's a good middle ground. You can't close the jaw because you'll crush whatever you're doing, but it gives you that so you can stop it.
A lot of control within the
A lot of
trigger.
control. The only thing you got to be careful of is if you index and you're not exactly on,
Yeah.
it'll slowly close on you, and
Yeah.
then you got to think about when you go to unindex.
Interesting little
Where you're at.
Where
Relative.
you're
mound
at.
kind of
Is
feature
that
If
with
it's
easy?
really
branches.
soft,
Yeah.
then you have to just let the jaws just open.
See what the object is
Can we
left.
do a quick zoom on that?
I wonder if it's a dead sponge.
It almost
ahead.
looks like a sponge, doesn't it? But yeah, I think you're right.
Fish, too.
Oh, look at the fish right in
Oh,
front of
geez,
it.
look at that.
Oh my goodness.
That was some good camo.
He's part buried.
He's moving his eye, so he's alive.
Yeah, so when I did that,
See what
I
looks
didn't want
like
to
little
index.
tubes
So I
of
put the
sediment
arm
under
all the way
that
to one
clump.
side.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's
out.
from a burrowing
I knew I
organism
had to
passing
come in
that
and to
through
the
its
left.
gut.
So that I have enough swing.
Yeah,
You can, if you're
sediment
not like
material.
that,
What is this
So you
substrate
won't
all
have enough
sargassum?
degrees
It's
left
It
in
decaying?
almost looks like it, doesn't it?
Maybe it
Motion's
just got
correct.
stuck in the depression
Because
here.
if you
Yeah.
didn't do that, then you wouldn't have enough degrees in your motions to get all the way
Yeah,
over.
Like
just
built up, right?
sediments
Gotcha.
on top of it.
I've never seen this fish before. Scott was thinking it might be a type of cod.
can't see any of the other fins. It's too camouflaged.
Okay, let's get a full area.
Go ahead.
Definitely went to great lengths to camouflage himself.
Let's get lasers.
Come on.
But he is alive. I see his eye moving, right?
Yep.
Seems to be.
Yeah, let's look at this substrate. Let's do a.
I think he'd look different if he were dead.
These are little tubes. aren't
Huh.
they?
Electrolytes.
Coming
Some
out
of
of
them
the
are,
fog
yeah.
lights?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there an algae that grows down here?
Not that I know of.
Wouldn't be much light for it. Look at all the little, there are other tubes there too.
I wonder if there's some type of mini tube worm, because there's lots of what looks like excrement from it.
I mean, pogonophrans are tiny tube worms, but that would mean, I think they usually are only around places where there's methane or something seeping from the seafloor.
Whoever it is has been very busy. A lot of those little excrement
Video's clear.
tubes.
It's coming up.
I don't know what to call them.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow. They cover a lot of the seafloor here.
Coming off to the fog lights.
We got something right here.
There's some sargassum.
Good.
Oh, it looks plastic bottle-like.
Yeah. Right, it's coming out.
Up to the left, red stripe.
This is quite strange.
Do a quick survey of what this looks like.
So Amanda Demopoulos from USGS also thought it looks like a depot zone, basically, where sargassum has piled up and started to decompose, but that there's some kind of little tube worms that are growing there as well.
Another one of those sponges up ahead.
All right, pilot ship's going to move a little more, so we can, take a moment to see exactly where we want to go.
Come on in.
More dead sponge.
Lasers coming off.
Oh, this might be it. So Tom Hands Connect gave us a link to a fish ID, Europhycus floridana, which is a southern hake. And a Phycidae. And it definitely looks like that. Although we couldn't see a lot of the body. The head looks like that.
Oh, that's a spoon or something.
Oh yeah, maybe a spoon.
Plastic.
Coming out.
Of the plastic type.
Going for the orange thing.
Which means it's modern litter. Oh, it looks like maybe a Bathanectes crab coming up here.
Let's get the crab.
Nope. That is, well, maybe. It's a swimming crab, a portunid.
It's a black thing on its
missing one limb.
Near side. Well, it's very large eyes.
Is that a blue crab?
No.
No.
It looks different to me than the Bathanectes, though. That carapace shape is different. So.
Yeah, and those spines are different also.
What about that weird shape of his eye stalks?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time looking at his eye stalks. Looks like the left one's different than the right one. Maybe he was injured on the right one.
I think it's just because we're seeing the left side. If you see the inner side of the right one,
oh, right.
It's got the same shape.
Yeah, so they kind of point left and right. Tom Hands Connect said that this could be a Chasmodes crab, and he's checking. That's another new one for me. I love it when this happens.
You can come in tight on the eye roll.
Coming on
Is
with
that
the
max?
fog lights. Fog lights are on.
Let's kill the fog lights.
Coming off with the lights.
During this mission, we have traveled great distances from shore, and now we're close to shore, and we've experienced dives with ranges in depth from this being
Yep,
about 350
notice
meters to
out there just to be a lot of
3,300
sand.
meters.
So we
And
can
so
poke
we've
out at
seen
some
so many
spots.
different types of deep
See
sea
where we wanna
environments. And
There's
as a
something to
result,
my-
many, many different species of
to port.
organisms. And
Yeah,
But that's where we
certainly
were.
no one
Okay,
person
so
could be knowledgeable about everything
don't
we've
see
seen. We
anything
have
west,
heavily
right?
relied on the telepresence
Come on,
potentially we
video.
could do a jump
connectivity
south,
we have and all these wonderful
and then go
scientists who have
back
followed
where
along
we
with
came,
us and
but just being offset
kept a
more south.
constant chatter in the chat room.
Keep us on the
And that
substrate.
definitely
Most
looks
welcome.
like that southern hake that
Yep.
Tom Hands Connect sent us the link for. That's great.
It's got that diagnostic fin, doesn't it? All the way down the back.
Yeah, and these white spots along his lateral line.
And what are the tentacle-like things that...
Barbels.
Barbels, yes.
Series of dark spots on the cheek.
Check.
Check. And then white spots on his lateral line. Check.
Check.
And a dark line from below eye to apercle. Check.
Now, does it say anything about the dorsal fin spots?
Yeah, I was commenting a green
Yeah,
spots
no,
on
I'm
the
asking
dorsal
Yeah.
fins.
Cheryl if she's seeing that in what she's reading.
Where do you want to go, Sean?
So we could look west again, make sure there's nothing there. And if there's nothing there, I was thinking we could potentially do a jump south and then just kind of go back the way we came but offset. Just so we stay on substrate and we're not just looking at sand the rest of the dive. So that's south. Alright, that was west you passed. And
Europhycus regia is what Andrea Quattrini ID'd that hake as. Thank you, Andrea. I was just reading that there were several closely related species and that the link that Tom sent us was actually from the Gulf of Mexico.
Do you want me to follow you around, pilot?
No, I'm just looking.
yeah.
If we keep going the way we are, it looks like it might turn to just a sedimented surface. And so an alternative is to turn back and go back towards the feature we were on and possibly hit it at a slightly different angle. So if anybody has opinions.
Say long urchin. I'm sorry, an enemy straight below the laser.
Like over here?
Enemy lower left.
Because this is the scour, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't really see an alternative plan that is any better than that. So if that's what you want to do, that works for us. Thank you. Oh, sorry. No, it was to go back to the feature where we know there's some topography, but maybe approach it from a different angle, as you suggested. I wouldn't mind going if we can sink down a little bit, maybe while we have the view of the scarp, if we can just lower to, yes, but while we're facing the scarp, just sort of drop down. Is that possible? Yeah, because we were sort of limited to the top when we really started converting this into a biology, geology dive. Wow, that's a beautiful specimen.
All right, Potts, so new game plan. Kind of want to go back to that edge.
Yeah, it looks, the topography looks pretty flat in the other direction.
So what we could do is potentially move northeast.
Beautiful little fish. I'm wondering if it's a kind of a juvenile Laymanema.
Explore it at a lower depth.
Or if it's something else.
Sound like a plan?
Copy that.
All right. So whenever you're ready, you can line up northeastest.
And that's a Serianthid tube anemone that fish is hanging around.
So it would be better if I lined up by going starboard.
That's fine. I can just get underneath you and then.
This is a very different kind of dive for us because we didn't have a dive plan to make this into a biology, geology dive. We were
flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, so we're
as you come
letting the
out
pilot have
me,
some great
I'll
suggestions.
Angle down and keep you into
following
view,
his lead.
and then I'll rotate to starboard to catch you on the
I don't think it gets any more exploratory than this.
Yeah,
exactly. And Andrea Quattrini said that, yes, that is a Laymanema barbatulum. So we were seeing Laymanema melanurum in our other dives. So barbatulum, I believe, is the first time we've seen it, although
yes, please.
I might have missed it previously.
Yeah, you can probably rotate now.
Keep swinging around to starboard. What are we looking to line up on? 045, 050?
We can start about 4-5.
Copy
if that works, and then adjust as we go.
Okay. I am sitting pretty at 045. Bringing camera up to keep you in view as you push ahead. So now, if
it's like a Lophelia on the far left and another octocoral.
You can lose the skids now.
In the foreground here. Maybe not.
If we were to just come up now, you would rotate half a turn to starboard, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
or
just
our marker.
Yep.
You're pretty much lined up.
Gotcha. Cool.
coming in.
Coming in.
This looks like the same
Line
type that
underneath
we
our skids.
collected earlier, or just a snip of one.
Yeah, that's coming out.
Another little fish that went by I hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that was more of a midwater fish.
You can lose the skids now, really.
Where we switched to a science dive, is there any interest in Niskin bottles collection?
You can ask him.
Go ahead. Okay, thank you.
Let's come right in partial.
Plastic bag and something circular.
There's the tail of the conger eel.
It's coming out.
Yeah, pilots, maybe if we travel about 6-0, we'll get into more of that slope, and then hopefully that puts D2 at about a nice depth, and then we can just kind of lateral like we were, just the opposite direction.
Copy that. You said 6-0?
Roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to bring it over to 055 then?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go.
Let's come on in.
Copy that.
Probably, can we take a look right in front of that fish? Yeah, see if that's the same thing that we just collected.
Definitely
Which
looks
we're-
like it.
Yeah, so it might be a Sarianth. No, not Sarianthid, sorry,
Corallimore?
Corallimorph. Going round and round with names in my head.
Let's get lasers.
Coming off.
Very nice to see that there's more than one here.
Yes,
I was
definitely.
going to say that.
We didn't take the only one. And Tina said also that it looks like Corallimorphus. And just so everybody knows, we decided to swing back around and hit the feature that we'd been looking at the majority of the dive from another angle. So we're back towards the initial feature. We're going to give it another look, another careful look.
Long rope or large rope, I mean.
Maybe go down slope a little bit.
All right, pilots, we need to bump you 20 meters at about 6-0.
Sure.
Copy that.
Not likely to
Great.
have as much biological activity, but we might be able to make a nice comparison that way.
Go ahead in.
This steep slope is in the lee of the flow of the Gulf Stream, so some of those currents
Can lose lasers.
spill over the edge, so the food and nutrients that are within the current itself would help to supply
All right, go right up.
the resources that these organisms would need, along with the marine snow that has a chance to settle in the area.
Those barnacles on that rope, something large.
And along with the marine debris we're looking at in the background, you can see all the slabs of rock.
Go ahead in.
There's a nice rope with gooseneck barnacles.
Those are serious goosenecks,
Yeah,
aren't
they are.
They almost look like the rope. Hmm.
Let's get lasers.
Coming on.
I think you're at your end of your rope.
Yeah, you're coming out. Yeah, you tether
Most
here.
of these rock slabs were horizontal when they were first formed, and
The currents
they
are
probably
pushing
formed ledges
towards
for a
us.
while when the
Oh,
sediments
gotcha. It's
beneath
probably
them
straightened
eroded
out
away
behind you.
from the Gulf Stream's forces, and eventually the ledges themselves gave way to gravity and broke off and started to slip down this slope. That large rock you see in the upper right now is a good example of that. That probably was a significant ledge at some point. And broke off and is now just resting on the slope. Kind of armors this slope from further erosion.
Coral.
And I asked Jason Chater from the USGS about his opinion of this area, and he said he doesn't even really understand what's going on here.
I'm so glad to hear that, Jason. Groping here.
He said the sub-bottom data shows a complicated subsurface environment. Let's see, with rough paleotopography truncated and overlain by a somewhat acoustically transparent sediment mass. We would normally call such a mass a landslide deposit.
Coming up.
But I just don't have a good handle on the morphology of the area to say anything more coherent. This is definitely an unusual feature when you look at back up and you look at the map topology of this whole area, which is flat around here for the most case. I guess that there's a little bit more of a feature just north of us. Is that right? Isn't there a little bit of a canyon structure?
Your skid is sort of a little
nearby?
hole the fish
Yes,
just dove into,
nearby.
between your skids.
Yeah, we are nearby, but the scour that they found on the multi-beam really doesn't connect to it in any way, at least on the surface. It may, if it was a paleo feature, and I think, Jason, you had mentioned over 10,000 years ago that event occurred for the submarine landslide, that maybe 10,000 years ago this did connect, and it has since filled in parts and been maintained in other parts where we are by the Gulf Stream.
And just a little more on that corallimorph. I don't know why I get those confused all the time in my pea brain. But that group has an interesting position in the history of anthozoans. And a study back in 2006, I believe, Monica Medina's group looked at the mitochondrial DNA, which is what we often use for phylogenetics of invertebrates. And she found that with the genes that she sequenced, that the corallimorphs looked like they were sister or closely related to one of the groups of stony corals. And so she was proposing that
Do you want me to spin
the
around line up
corals
with you? There's something big in Sirius's view, directly behind you. Looks like swimming.
had actually have
Maybe
the
up higher,
ability
though.
to live without a skeleton. So they
Coming
basically corallimorphs were
Maybe close to
scleractinians
there.
with no
That's
skeleton.
a
But then other molecular
yeah,
work has
sizable
come
fish.
around since then. Oh,
Oh,
my
Oh my god.
Is that a
so
sunfish?
exciting.
Yep.
Wow.
It is great
Kill
to
the
see it
lasers.
at depth.
Coming
Once in a
off.
while you see these at the surface, and it's very exciting, but this is even better.
I didn't mean to hit you.
That's all right. That's all right.
So
Kill the
excited.
lasers.
That is,
Coming off.
oh, aren't we lucky?
Wow.
Oh, they're
That
so
is
graceful.
great.
Sorry, I didn't.
Ready
didn't
for
distract
Zoom
you.
to fill the
Yeah,
screen?
go ahead and
They're also called sunfish.